if you haven't done so yet, please go to our YouTube page, like and subscribe and share.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bev for Real show.
Bev for real, Bev for real. Are you ready? Bev for real, Bev for real. Her name is Bev, she keeps it real. Where her mission is to heal. She always keeps it real. She always keeps it real. Are you ready? Bev for real, Bev for real.
Keep it real.
Hello, and welcome to the Bev for Real show. Today we have a very special guest with us. First of all, let me start off. Today we traveled. We are actually in McDonough, Georgia. That's right, McDonough, Georgia. I'm here today with my special guest, Miss Charmaine French. Miss French's topic is today, faith is dead without works. Miss Charmaine, how are you today?
I'm good. First, I'd like to say thank you for having me on the For Real show. It's an honor. I'm just blessed to be a part of this production. Just seeing how you have actually put forth the effort to create a platform for people to come forth and speak when, I don't necessarily have a way to get there. So just your support and just seeing other people grow. So I'm very appreciative to be here on this couch with you and just talk with you. But yes, I'm Charmaine. I like to say that I now am an artist. I'm an activist. I think that it's important to kind of claim your title and kind of stand on it. And just knowing that artist and activism means multiple things. And so just walking in my purpose now. So yeah, that's who I am.
All right. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I know you're an activist and an artist.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your background, where you're from.
Yeah. So I'm from Georgia, from Clayton County actually, born and raised. Then we moved out into McDonough. But my background is more so, I've always been in the arts. In high school, I was a part of plays. I was in chorus. I couldn't sing, but I wanted that art seal for some reason. I've always found my interest in just fine arts, just being able to express movement, whether it be through videography, whether it be through just music or paint, the body, the language, writing, storytelling. I always just found interest in it. So from a very young age, I took interest in writing. I took interest in just doodling little images whenever I would be bored in a meeting or in college. I just take little moments and just kind of focus my thoughts just by creating little characters to keep me along the way. Eventually it paid off to be something I didn't realize what it was. But yeah, so that has always been a part of me, art, and then the idea of activism. That came from just being an educator first. And I've always loved the idea of just knowledge and seeking more knowledge and understanding that anytime I feel like I've reached a status of knowing everything, I need to move out of that. Because I think people grow when you find more information, when you find more knowledge. So if you ever become to the point of I know everything, then it's no fun. Like if I can't learn and bounce back from it, then I've mastered this. So what's next on my course? So that has always kind of been like my background, my thinking. I've had an opportunity to further my understanding and education, to become a teacher, to work with children.
Awesome.
to deal with children who looked like me, to
Mm-hmm.
deal with children who had the same statistics as me,
Mm-hmm.
to not ever be someone, to not ever be more than your circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have a bad childhood, but I knew that my circumstances could either break me or make me.
Okay.
And because of that, I just knew that I just kept always pushing forward, pushing forward to the next step, whether it be finishing college, finishing high school, getting the job that I want, traveling the world, whatever I needed to do just to continue to push forward and know that it starts with myself.
Right.
And so I was working in a lot of inner city communities.
Awesome. Wonderful.
Where children were always given a shorthand of things. And there's a lot of politics in education. Where if you don't make a certain amount of money or if you don't have certain necessities, then you're kind of treated less than, and you're kind of given the bare minimum.
Right.
And so I work with the bare minimum to uplift children and just to see that. I did it for 5 years.
Wow.
And to see how a child would come in so broken and just to talk to that person through my own activism, through my own speaking highly of them or seeing the good in them, inspiring them. And so just seeing that little change in them inspired me to continue to see like, okay, it's not in vain.
Wow.
My work is not in vain. So that's where I get that activism from.
Okay.
Of course, I love Black people. I love Black lives.
Right.
And so knowing that my voice is in itself is activism.
Absolutely.
And using my voice and finding my voice. And then once I learned how to do it, to teach others to do the same.
Right.
So, yeah. So.
Wow, Charmaine, that is so powerful and so deep. I mean, you said so much.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just listening and I almost lost train of thought. Let's talk about this just a little bit. You said something that kind of caught my attention. You said growing up, you know, you wanted to do better. You wanted to push. And you said your life wasn't bad, but you know that you could have done better. What were you seeing at that time where you felt like, I want more?
I always credit everything to my parents.
Okay.
My mother and father have been married for 30 plus years.
Okay.
And I just seen what they went through for my brothers and I. I saw the long nights that they put in, the long hours that they put in, the sacrifices, even when it meant like sacrificing time with us.
Right.
It wasn't in vain.
Right.
We always had a roof over our head. Whatever that roof looked like, whether it was me and my brother sharing a apartment bedroom together, or if it was sleeping in the den of my grandmother's home.
Right.
My mother and father always worked hard for their children. They always we grew up together. Like if my parents left for the bank, we was going with them to the bank.
Right.
If we went grocery shopping, it was all loaded up in the car, and we're all going together as a family.
Right.
So just seeing a cycle of what my parents went through, just the mismanagement of bills, the mismanagement of their time, it left us with a lot of opportunity to grow together.
Awesome.
It was one point where I was younger, and I also, a part of my fine arts, I like writing. So I write about a time where a lot of times we grew up in the dark, whether it because of my parents forgot to pay a bill or whether it was because the storm knocked the power out.
Right.
My mother and father would just always grab us together up in their room, put the candle lights on, we'll sing praises. My dad would be the pastor, stand up in front of everybody.
Which he really is.
Later on in life, he became a pastor, ordained pastor. But in that moment, it was in the 90s, and we weren't thinking about that.
Right.
We just, the sun is coming.
Right.
In the meantime, what we're going to do in the dark. And so, from a very young age, I saw that education was powerful. My mother has always been one who has always pushed knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
At the dinner table, we would have spelling games. It wasn't fun,
Right.
but to her,
It was
fun, and we would spell words together.
Right.
And she would always challenge us to spell it.
Mm-hmm.
And in school, I never had issues.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up as a child, my mother had to spend more time with my brothers, so I kind of felt neglected in a sense. So it caused me to kind of like figure out which way I wanted to go in life.
Right.
If I wanted to work a 9 to 5, which is nothing wrong with it.
Right.
But I saw how my mother and father had to break their backs just for us to be stable.
Right.
And I just knew that that's not what I wanted. I wanted
Right.
to go to school. It was a harder choice. No one in my family at that moment had finished college. No one in that, especially going into education.
Right.
So I had to find my own path. And in the end, I wanted to get my, I would say I wound up taking the wrong paths in the beginning because I was stubborn. And I thought that I was in control of everything. So I made a lot of choices just out of hesitation.
Wow.
So when my mother and father didn't have time for me, I was out rebelling. Just being in school, not paying attention, not focusing, to the point where I actually failed. And I had to decide, are you going to pass high school? Are you going to go to college? Are your dreams going to slip away? Or are you going to continue to make these poor choices that are going to lead you down a cycle of spinning out and not walking in your calling?
Right.
So knowing what my parents went through and seeing what they went through, I knew that I had to do something a little bit different. And going to school, it was a blessing. I experienced a lot. I enjoyed a lot. But I knew that it was an outlet for me to have a different life for me. So, I mean, I think my parents, out of all, was my motivation.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest push for me, just to see them know that their work didn't go in vain. Like, to see the growth of their children that they poured into us, the water that they poured into us, to see us grow and to be the leaders that they called us was my motivation.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is really, really beautiful.
Thank you.
That's showing and speaking great value of your parents.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what the situation is, they got you.
Yeah.
No matter what it looks like, we're going to make it through.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And you did.
Yeah.
In a way, it's good that you experienced that because it made you stronger.
Yeah, absolutely.
It made you stronger to want more.
Yeah.
You know, like most youth that gone through that or been through it, the thing of it that you always have this feeling. It was the same with me. I want to do great so when I get older, I can help my parents.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's where you're at today.
Yeah, and by no means did I have a perfect life.
Right.
My mother is an old school mother, so that she was never my friend.
Right.
She was always my mother. But I knew in the beginning. Now, as I'm older, I can sit back and appreciate it.
Right.
Back then, I felt like my parents didn't understand me. They didn't see me.
Right.
They wanted me to fit some type of stigma. In reality, it was me. It was my own pressures. But I had to point the blame at someone.
Somebody, yes.
And so, and always thinking like, thinking to myself, it's their fault I have these generational curses. But understanding that I can break any curse that I want to break.
Come on now.
So I can't put that on someone else.
Right.
And that's where that whole idea of that message is. If you don't do the work, you can't heal. You can't. That faith has no meaning.
That's right.
And so my parents have always taught me to be humble. It was ingrained in me from a very young age.
Right.
Whether my mother took a loss or a win, it was never announced. It was never announced.
That's right.
And I would always see that. I'm like, you should brag about this stuff. You should, let the world know like how far you've come, or the lows that you've hit, the highs that you've hit. Someone should know about this. But my mom and father's response has always been, through the grace of God, to always give it back to God.
Right.
Because it can come and go.
That's right.
At any minute,
That's
any
right.
moment.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, my parents, you know, they were the foundation of who I am today. I had to build my own walls. I had to build my own house, but they laid the foundation of like the walk that I'm walking today.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. That is so awesome. We'll be right back.
I'm Charmaine, an artist. Understanding that God creates.
Right.
So if He created us, and we're supposed to be in the image of Him, we should be creating as well. I'm Charmaine. My writing has always been the most sacred thing to me. My paintings, you can see it from a mile away. But my writing, that was my heart, an artist.
Okay, and welcome back. Charmaine, we were talking a little bit on the break, and we were talking about self-esteem.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that since you
Yeah.
brought it up some.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
So I think self-esteem is one of the hardest concepts to grasp.
Right.
And I just talk about my childhood for a little bit. Growing up, I was still in that age of era where you didn't see dark-skinned dolls. If you did, it wasn't that many dolls around.
Right.
The images that I saw on TV, there wasn't little girls with hair like me or color skin melanin like me or the fullness of my lips. I didn't see that growing up. And so I had my mother to always encourage me to tell me that one day people are going to try to pay for lips like mine. I always had her tell me to embrace your color, embrace that chocolateness, embrace it. It was still a hard concept.
Wow.
I still walk with my head held high, but in my inner thoughts, I was always self-critiquing myself.
Wow.
How I sat, how I walked in the room, if my clothes fit right, if this was too tight. I was always conscious of it. And it trickled over into my adulthood where I saw that I was just making toxic choices or the people I dated.
Right.
To the point where I thought I deserved less than because of how I saw myself.
Right.
And I had to actually sit and do the work to understand, like, where is that thinking coming from? Like, here I am 25, 26 years old, and I can't even look in the mirror.
Wow.
I would just, like, kind of rush through mirrors when I would walk by, or every time I took a picture, it was always something wrong. I could never see just what everyone else saw.
Wow.
So I had to kind of figure out where was that thinking coming from. And one day I was in my apartment, and I just looked myself in the mirror, and I was like, what's the one thing you hate the most about yourself? And I looked, and it was my lips. I couldn't stand them. And so once I realized that, and I just started questioning myself, who told you to think that? Who told you to think that your features are ugly?
Wow.
Undo that thinking.
Right.
And every time it comes up, challenge it and say that's not true. And so it went from my lips to my skin, to my nose, to my curves, to my hair. I literally had to redo all of the thinking that I have heard about myself. And as an adult, a few months ago, actually, right before COVID happened, I had the opportunity to go to Tennessee to the National Civil Rights Museum. Okay. And as I walked through, I just started crying.
Oh, wow.
Just like within the first 5 minutes, just full on tears, because I would see images of what the media thought I was supposed to look like.
Oh, wow.
And how it's been programmed from a very, very long time of what we're supposed to, like, that manly looking, or that image of us just not being well put together. Right. And how it has been generation after generation after generation. And we start to question, like, why? You know, why do I hate myself? Why do I look at myself this way? And it was more so that you've been taught this, and you have to undo that teaching. And it comes with activism. Right. To continue to tell yourself over and over and over again, even when that comes up, even on your lowest moments. No, I'm beautifully made.
There you go.
You know, like, God created me this way for a reason.
That's right.
But it took a lot for me to get there. And so with my paintings, I wanted to make sure that I was able to portray every skin color, every skin range
Right.
that shows the richness of who we are.
Right.
Because we have this gift, we have this talent. It can be seen through our many complexions. It can be seen just through our features,
Right.
and how it should be celebrated. And I don't think that enough women who look like me, enough girls who look like me, are celebrated. And so every day I want to just tell the world, like, you're beautiful. You know,
wow.
Own it.
Yes.
And even for when people tell me I'm beautiful, I just say thank you.
Right.
You know, because I understand that we're all created. You
That's
know,
right. That's
so
right.
we're all celebrating God's creation.
That's right.
So I just take it humbly and just understand that, you know, it took me some time to get here, but I'm just appreciative that you see my worth and I see my worth as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Charmaine, you are beautiful.
Thank you.
You are very beautiful.
Thank
Inside and out. I love your smile.
Thank you.
I think that what we're talking about today is going to bless so many women that are going through just what you were going through. And just to hear how you speak about yourself, it even make me check my own self. You know what I'm saying? So I hear a lot of women today saying, "Hello, Queen." And at first, I didn't even know how to take that. I'm like, you know, Queen. I've never been called that before. But now that I see so much going on in the world, and then I can say, you know what? I am a queen.
Yeah, you are.
I am somebody.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not bad looking. You know, you really start checking yourself. And I'm appreciating you today of speaking on these manners. It's so important because people do not, you know, I can even remember growing up or even today, somebody could say to me, "Oh my goodness, you're so beautiful." I go in the mirror, I don't see what everybody see. So I do. I say, "Oh, thank you." But then I'm like, well, what were they looking at? You know? So it does. It's not even so much the outer, it's the inner heart and accepting who you are. That is so awesome. I think that's awesome. I love what also you said. You spoke about your paintings. And we have some beautiful paintings here. So tell us a little bit about your paintings.
So my journey on my painting, it's been one that's just been filled with ups and downs. I would say that when it comes to putting art onto paper, it's that whole idea of trusting the process.
Right.
Because when I first started, I'm like, I don't know what this is going to turn into.
Right.
I don't know what I'm making. This isn't coming out right. I get frustrated. I want to give up. The paintbrush went the wrong way.
Wow.
But then I started thinking, like, maybe it was supposed to be that way. You know, just trusting that I'm in control. But even in my control, like, it's okay for it to go a little bit different.
Right.
I don't have to recreate perfection.
Right.
Because it's always going to be something that's, like, not perfect. But that's just us being humble.
Right.
And remembering that, you know, God still wants us to grow.
Oh, wow.
So when you don't have it perfect, it's kind of like, okay, what can I do next time?
Right.
And so the story behind how I actually got into painting, I was in a car accident last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was one that my father likes to call a miracle story. I was on my way home late at night, driving home, and on the highway, going about 60, 70 miles per hour, and out of nowhere, it was a parked car in the middle of the road. 4 lanes just parked in the second lane. And so it was 2 cars in front of me, and they swerved out of the way, and I had enough time to just swerve, and the rest of my car hit it. So the passenger side was basically demolished. And so just me, out of just panicking, thinking that it was children in the car, I got out the car, which I shouldn't have did.
Right.
And by doing that, I actually dislocated my hip socket.
Oh, wow.
And my femur, actually the ball of the femur broke off.
Oh, wow.
So I had to basically like dead crawl out of the middle of the highway because I spun into oncoming traffic.
Oh, wow.
So, and I was 28 when that happened, and just thinking, like, you know, in a moment, that quick,
split second,
life happens. And so it was to the point where I actually had to spend 6 months learning how to rewalk. I had I had to have assistance with every single thing: putting on clothes, changing, taking a shower, washing my hair, washing my face, brushing my teeth, eating.
I know that had to be
turning
so
to this,
hard.
especially to be a woman trying to maneuver, figuring out their, getting ready to transition into their 30s,
Right.
thinking you have everything, thinking that life is going the way it's supposed to happen, and then literally everything was stripped from me. My career, finances, car, my mobility. So I was stuck physically, spiritually, mentally, and I was just like, trying to figure out why God,
Right.
Why.
Yeah.
My whole life I tried to be this person who does good for humanity.
Right.
I've always tried to put other people before me, which was in a sense my own downfall. But I just couldn't understand, like, why did God put me here to this point where I couldn't even move, like,
Wow.
and I would just cry out. And then on top of that, I had to be placed in my family room where everyone comes in,
no privacy,
and sees me.
Oh wow.
Day in, day out. When I wanted to cry, I couldn't cry. When I wanted to just sink into that state of depression, I couldn't, because everybody was watching.
Right.
Everyone was watching. And so eventually I was able to gain the strength to hop. So once I was able to hop, I got a little bit more privacy upstairs in my room. And it was one day, it was an off, horrible day. Just wanting to just get up and walk. Just wanting to, and knowing that if I did, I would probably never walk again.
Wow.
Because it was to the point where several doctors had to come in and conference on what to do, how to save my leg.
Oh, wow.
Because they were more afraid of me having to have my hip replaced. So they had to be strategic on how to put me back together. So because of that, I didn't have a choice. As much as I wanted to walk in that sense of I'm strong enough, I didn't want to chance it. So I was in my my parents' guest room, and I was just crying for hours. I'm surprised my parents didn't hear me. I was crying and crying and crying. But I had a little small easel, and I had a little, just a little picture. I have it with me. Okay. And I just painted. And I just, it didn't make sense. But I kept crying, and I cried till I couldn't cry anymore. And I cried until I had no voice. And I was just like, God, why? God, why? And so this painting, it represents...
Can you hold it up? So
yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
This painting represents where I was in that mindset. So it might look like jumbo, but it's a meaning. And so along with my painting, I also write sometimes. So it says, in the midst of chaos, there's always a source of peace. Often one might find themselves in a storm of confusion, sadness, and stressful times. When this time comes, look for your center of light. Find your method of calmness. Seek your attentions on good, and know that all that comes with it. There will always be trouble in your life. Tests will always appear in your life. Embrace them and learn from them. These tests are the underlying messages in our testimony. It is the character we seek to make us stronger, healthier, insightful spirits in His temple. Wow. So, this was what I was at my lowest. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do it. And even after that, I still had low moments. Even after that, I still had battles I had to fight. And so when those battles would come, I would get my easel and my paintbrushes and my paint and just get lost in it. And just
nothing else
matters. Wow. And knowing that God gave me a second chance, everything that I wanted to do, I had to please Him. So I stopped saying, like, do you like this? Do you like that? And it became, God, are you happy? Oh, wow. God, do you appreciate this? God, am I making you smile? And I stopped worrying about what my outcome would be.
Right.
Trusting that process. And
that's that faith.
Yeah, that faith.
And that works.
Yeah.
The work.
Yeah, because without the two, you can have the faith all you want. You can hope and pray all day. But if you don't ever stand up and take your foot to the floor.
Oh, come on, Charmaine. Come on,
then it will never happen.
Right.
And so, yeah, so all of my paintings, they mean something. They're all special to me. Because it's just more so that time where I didn't think I could do it.
Wow.
And then I did it.
And it happened.
And then I did it again. And again. And it got better. But I still am humbled to say thank you, God.
Right.
Because I couldn't do this without you. Yeah.
Isn't it something how you can go through something so detrimental and then you find yourself, you really do find yourself. And you in finding yourself, you find things that you would never have done. And, you know, sometimes you can't help but to wonder, you know, if the Lord would just sit you down. If you can hear him say, I need you to slow down. You know, if you don't slow down, you know, you don't want me to slow you down. If I slow you down, especially when you have a calling, you know,
and you run from it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Or you let your distractions become bigger than your calling. And I think by being stuck to my bed, I had to face my distractions. I had to face what was my trauma. I had to face it. And then I had to face it and to the point where I had to learn to say, okay, it happened. So now what? How do you grow from this? How do you learn not to make the same mistakes? Not even mistakes again, but what lesson is God trying to teach you?
That's what it is.
You know?
Right.
This is your purpose. And the moment you get that lesson, you understand it.
Right.
Then God sends you another lesson. It's always another one coming.
Never stops. Yeah.
But it's a reason why you went through that. It's for a greater purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the purpose is to let people know who feel like they're stuck that there is a way out. Or if you feel like you're in a generational curse that never stops, there is a way out.
Yeah.
You know, and that is seeking the face of the Father.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And my father has always been a pastor. My parents, they created their own rituals and routines. So certain things that I did as a child, it didn't really fit into the norm of what religion says. But my father has always taught me that it's not about religion, it's about relationships.
Ooh, yes.
And so if you listen to what religion says, then you do have a harder time understanding that God is real.
Right.
And it's like you have this blockade because of what you've experienced.
Right.
But when God wants you to meet with him and dance with him and have that relationship with him, it becomes like I want to call him, like I want to text God. I want to, you know, I just feel like every day I wake up and I seek him, and I seek him in everything, making the bed, brushing my teeth, walking.
That's that relationship.
You know, and you're in constant conversation.
Yes.
Asking for guidance.
Yes.
And I think during that time, I had already had a relationship with God, but it wasn't as strong as I needed to be. And I had support around me, but God had to show me that all of these things are happening because of me, because of my grace, because of what I'm allowing you to go through. It's more so of, according to his time, it's going to always be greater.
Absolutely.
And I had to check myself and understand that the God that I know is even greater than that.
That's right.
Even more powerful than that. And so what I foresee him to do, he can do that and then some.
Right.
And so it took that relationship to trust, to really, really trust and know that God is in control.
That's right. And that he is. Yeah. He is definitely. And once you allow God to be God in your life, his timing, perfect timing. Yeah. He never fails us. He never lets us down. Yeah. And he is who he is. He's God. Yeah. You know, and I just think that is so awesome. And I'm really enjoying this conversation today because I am really knowing that change is here for many. many. In your process of doing what you were doing, changing, finding yourself, did you find that you were losing some people out of your life by you being a different person now?
Yeah. I like that concept of that. I feel like pressure makes diamonds, and so and whatever is in diamonds crumbles. And so I knew that I wanted to. Before my relationship with Christ and before my car accident, I was always on this journey of finding myself. And it wasn't until I got off the crutches that I realized that I am no one without Christ.
Right.
So I can't find myself in no one else but Christ. And if that is where my happiness is, if that is where my peace is, if that's where my strength comes, then the people around me would either have to see it or run from it.
Wow.
And it happened that way. The people around me, because I started to heal myself, they started to heal themselves as well.
Awesome.
So it was like it was the inevitable.
Right.
It was either you're going to try to see like why is Charmaine on fire? Like what is she drinking? What can I get some? And I had several people ask me, and I'm like, well, I do motivational readings of different Bible scriptures. I started reading Proverbs. I started really focusing on myself, and then I said, okay, if I learned this, let me teach other people.
Wow.
So it wasn't a matter of people falling away. God just started bringing the right people to me.
Right.
Versus me even worrying about like who's there, who's not there. Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
We'll be right back.
Hey my love bugs. Hey my love bugs. Hey my love bugs. It would only be right. It's only right.
It's only right.
It's only right. If I start this video here. If I start the video here.
I do.
If you're curious to learn more about an introvert who loves extrovert activities, then you should hit the subscribe button.
The Bev For Real Talk Show would like to thank the following sponsors. If you would like to become a sponsor or have your commercial aired during the show, please email bevforrealshow@gmail.com or call 929-286-3513.
Welcome back. So Charmaine, we were talking about therapy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about therapy.
So my writing actually it came from therapy. During the time of me knowing that I wanted to transition out of the classroom, I had a lot of series of unfortunate events happening back to back to back.
Okay.
Where it actually took me into rock bottom, where I was sitting in a car, and I've always dealt with, as a child, panic attacks,
Okay.
anxiety, where it's just basically your heart overworks.
Oh, yes.
Everything around you just get real tight.
Right.
And your mind just starts going 1,000 miles per hour.
Right.
And usually I have someone there to kind of like calm me down from that panic attack. But this time it was different. I was by myself, and I actually called my healthcare provider, and I was like, my heart is racing and I don't know what to do. And so she was like, you need to come to the hospital, but don't drive yourself. Okay. So I called my brother. He rushed me there, and even when I got to the hospital, my anxiety kind of heightened even more to the point where I had to get a shot to mellow me out.
Right.
And that's when I was like, okay, something's not right. And this was pre-car accident.
Wow.
So something was like, something's not right. You can't keep going this route. You can't keep trying to hold everything in. You can't be your all and everything.
Right.
Because if you're ending up on a hospital bed, getting a shot to calm yourself down, something's not right. So the next day, I went to therapy, and during intake, she asked me a series of questions, and one of the questions she asked me was, have you ever dealt with suicidal thoughts? Do you know anyone who has been through, have you ever experienced anyone with suicide? And I broke down crying because I didn't realize how much of that I was holding on to.
Wow.
And at the end of it, after she asked me all the questions, I just stared at her and said, am I crazy? Am I insane? And she just smiled and said no. And to me, at that moment, I was like, for me, growing up, I never heard of therapy in my culture as often as I did.
And you don't.
It was more so not a necessity. Pray on it.
Right.
Just pray on it.
Right.
God's gonna see you through. And I kept praying, but it was more so I would pray and not be diligent in my behavior.
Right.
I was still using my old coping skills to get through something.
Right.
And understanding that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different reaction or a change.
Right.
And so my insanity drove me to therapy because I was like, I got to get this right.
Right.
And just throughout our conversations, I read to her a letter that I wrote to myself when I was 18 years old, a few years ago, telling myself not to kill myself.
Wow.
And so I read it to my therapist, and for a woman I barely know to say that's going to change lives.
Right.
Someone to tell me, like, you should do TED Talk. And I'm like, I don't know this woman.
Right.
You know, hearing your parents say you're going to be great, hearing your family say you're going to be great.
Right.
It means something. But for someone that you barely know.
Right.
To see that in you.
Exactly.
To not know your life story. To only know you for a couple of months.
Right.
And to see that, it made me start to say, what do they see that I don't see? So I started doing my own digging and my own therapy. And so that's how I've come to just writing. I was never good at it, but I loved writing. Right. Before I started talking, I was writing, in my opinion. I didn't talk for a long time. My mom and I didn't have the best communication. So because of that, I wrote to her.
Wow.
And luckily she listened. When I talked to her, I got my head knocked. But when I wrote to her,
it was different.
It was different.
Right.
And she changed.
Wow.
And so if I knew my power and my words were that powerful, that it was something bigger than that.
Right.
So because of the car accident, I lost therapy, and I just wanted to continue to do the work. And so that's how my writing has come about. And I found that God was in my writing. I would write to God, and he would respond in my writing.
Wow.
So I would write a question, I would read, or I would do some type of knowledge searching, and God would answer it right then.
Wow.
My writing has always been the most sacred thing to me. My paintings, you can see it from a mile away. But my writing, that was my heart.
Right.
So when I wrote, I want people to feel the emotions, and I want something to stir up in them. Just to kind of get juices flowing. That was my intent. And so sometimes it just comes to me out of nowhere. I gotta
Right.
sit, and I could be driving and pull over to the side of the road and write this down to get it out of my head before I forget it. So I just happened to sit down and write about understanding where creativity comes from and finding it and really tapping into what it means to be designed by the Creator. Understanding that God creates.
Right.
So if He created us and we're supposed to be in the image of Him, we should be creating as well. So that is where this essay kind of comes from.
Right.
So in your silence, you have the opportunity to hush the voices that whisper softly in your ears. You get a chance to devour the truest thoughts of yourself, one that is no longer limited to the limitations people have professed. Nor are you bound to the false measures of reality. You are granted the opportunity to sit and reflect on what has transpired in life. Whether you venture down old past hoods or present day discrepancies, you subconsciously grant yourself permission to become the active listener. Listening to your inner thoughts, ones that are gentle and kind and there to lend solution for a problem when mending an ache. By stilling your thoughts and listening to your inner you, the godly-like thoughts slowly start to take form, one of positivity and pure thoughts. Conversations within that take combat to the lies you battle. Your mind starts to take practice with shining away negative thoughts about your life and the world you live in. Your circumstances may not give way, but you become a different fighter, a stronger athlete, a wiser player, approaching life with new tactics and studying the playbook of life, coming back stronger with a new fight. If you're one of those thinkers who believe you wake up and choose to be happy, this message might challenge your thoughts. Happiness is a state of mind. One cannot find happiness, for that is as silly as Alice following the white rabbit. Chasing happiness will lead you down an endless road of feeling halfness, still searching for the other half of what's missing. Happiness cannot be chased or sought after. It has to be created. The work you complete is where you'll unearth your happiness. The effort you perform towards your work should require your talents to be utilized. Abilities that come innately, those gifts you were born with, those little skills that you have miraculously obtained, which are incomparable to others. Creating happiness requires creativity. Creativity has to be the force to drive happiness into existence. Creativity isn't an image, product, or result. Creativity is vulnerability. Allowing yourself to admit to being afraid of the unknown. Vulnerability is the openness to confess you are unsure of your capabilities. It is permitting yourself to gracefully fail and then continue to fail as many times as it takes you to fail some more. Failure is what drives you to become disciplined in your creativity. Your creativity will guide you in performing your talents. From the efforts you put into your work is where you'll reach your state of blissfulness. Once the endorphin is released, you will experience the consciousness of happiness, but only for a moment, for the pleasure you seek will be fleeting. It will come and go as long as you please. Once the endorphin wears off, your fixation drifts. Your perception of what is essential shifts, and your talents no longer hold significance. So in return, you search for replacements. It is your obligation to be in control of your focus. If you choose to deviate from being one with your talents, you will look for tangible objects to create your bliss. Sadly, some might start to be overconsumed by the work of others, investing your time into the work that belongs to someone else, creating someone else's joy. Furthermore, holding value to the validation they deem befitting of you and your efforts. Validation, patiently waiting for someone to recognize you. Deepening your innate ability to be codependent. Excessive reliance on another individual to measure your existence. If you find yourself having a longing need for a significant other to show you, If you find yourself having a longing need for a significant other to shower you in gifts and praises, I'm inclined to say there may be an underlying trait of codependency, placing your value into the hands of another, valuing and also seeking the approval of a former instead of defining your own worth. Finding yourself living a life of always questioning your worthiness based on your accomplished accolades in comparison to peers. And when you find yourself lost in your creativity, you tap into a source that tunnels the vision around you. The surroundings around you cave in. You find yourself laser beaming an object that does not exist. Only you and the object recognizes one another's presence. Going after a new job, finishing up the hands-on painting, or the final stretch of a tedious mile is when the state of tunnel vision can best be seen. Subconsciously, you've envisioned a reality that must take place no matter what the cost. Late hours, sleepless nights, and buckets filled with tears. You'll fight until your last breath.
That's beautiful, Charmaine.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's truly being creative.
Yeah. And understanding that everyone has it.
Yes.
It looks different for everybody.
Right.
This is your creativity.
Yeah.
Seeing it come through, seeing your vision,
Yeah.
and God sending the people that you need
Yes, He is.
for that vision to come true.
Yes, He is.
You can't focus on what's there and what's not there.
Mhm.
That tunnel vision
That's right.
of what you want to come to fruition comes when you just focus on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I thank you.
I
Thank you for coming on our show.
Yeah.
You're such a blessing. I learned something today.
Yeah.
I have truly learned who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Even when people tell me now, I will say to myself, yes,
Mm-hmm.
I am
Yeah.
beautiful. I've learned today that stop, breathe, accept who I am, not worry about what others say, to stay focused, continue to walk in my faith, and continue to do the work. I thank you.
Amen.
I thank you. I thank you. Your paintings, I've been looking at all of your paintings, and I actually hearing them, I can hear them speak to me.
Yeah.
And I know people will probably want to buy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would be the next question. Are any of your paintings for sale at this time?
At this time, no.
Okay.
Eventually, yes.
Okay.
I feel like God has given me a story,
Mm-hmm.
and that story's not done yet.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't want to worry about when the timeline
Right.
is supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, yeah, they're a part of something bigger. So
Wow.
I can't let them go yet.
Okay.
they do deserve a home.
Right.
But in the meantime, not right now.
Okay.
I am doing commission work though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Tell us how people can reach you.
So I do also do YouTube.
Okay.
My YouTube page is Unapologetically Shy.
Okay.
I just recorded about being an introvert and
Okay.
just speaking out loud.
Okay.
Also the importance of therapy. Getting your mind, spirit, and body all aligned.
Wow.
I talk about that on my YouTube. And then Instagram, Unapologetically Shy as well. And my Facebook is Charmaine Delisha.
Okay.
So, you can reach out with your ideas and we can go from there. We can talk pricing. We can talk how long.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm open. I'm ready.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not only that, I really see you as a motivational, inspirational speaker.
Yeah.
So do you do that as well?
I do.
Okay.
I've done it a few times.
Okay.
I believe my calling is to help. My purpose is to help. I was put on this earth to serve.
Right.
I've learned that my testimony is bigger than me, and the longer I hold on to it, I'm not doing my purpose. I'm not serving.
Okay.
So motivational speaking, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I love encouraging people. That's that activism.
Yes,
in me.
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So is there an email or anyone that they can reach out to you as well?
Yes, my email is unapologeticallyshy
Okay.
@gmail.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So there you go, everyone. You heard it. You listened to her story. I'm full. I'm hoping you guys are full. And listen, greatness. Keep your eyes out for Charmaine French. Keep your eyes out This young lady is going places. If you need her, if you love any of her artwork, please reach out to her. She's available for you. And we thank you for watching this show. As I say all the time at the end of each show, be true to yourself by keeping it real, for real, and we'll see you next week.
The Bev For Real Show is produced by Vice Productions.
Let's keep it real.